Oh, no, it's not this morning, it's this afternoon already. It's 9 minutes past 12. Now, we've been hearing a lot from all the political parties these past few weeks about why their party is the one that will benefit the country. But should it be less about partisan voting and more about people? The Campaign for Common Decency is calling for what they're calling colourblind politics, viewing your options on a person-by-person basis rather than which party they belong to. And the campaign is headed up by Queen guitarist Dr. Brian May and the Save Me Trust. And Brian joins me now, and it's lovely to see you.
Hello, Anne.
Hi.
Very good to be here.
And there you are, sitting there feeling all tired because you've been campaigning like mad too.
I have, up and down the country, exactly, yeah. Mainly, actually, the best part of it was talking to students. I did a lot of that. And in the beginning, trying to get them to register to vote, because Mr. Cameron made it hard for them to vote this time. You know, I wonder why. And
other people like Russell Brand are telling them not to.
Well, he's not anymore.
No, I gather he's now thrown his weight behind the Labour Party.
He has. Well, he's come very close to what we're advocating. I mean, it's not exactly, but it's close. He's saying vote for Caroline Lucas in Brighton because obviously she's wonderful, and I don't know anyone who disagrees with that opinion. She's an incredible MP, and we need more MPs like her. But we don't all live in Brighton, so he's saying vote for Labour everywhere else. Now, I'm not quite saying that. I'm saying, you know, I'm agreeing with him that there's a palpable evil which needs to be got rid of, which is what he's saying, you know. But I think there are good people in every party, and to me it's very important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
That's interesting, because I get a lot of that. People say, oh, these politicians are all the same. They're all, you know, snouts in the trough. This is the phrase I keep remembering. But I mean, you must have been the same. I've met so many, and I know they're not all the same. There are some truly good people who want to get change in their own way.
There really are some great ones. And we've been in Portcullis House for the last 5 years campaigning for animals. And so, yes, like you, I get to see a lot of them. And you know quite quickly when you look into their eyes
whether they're sincere or not.
Exactly. Why they're there. You know, are they really there to put the opinion of their constituents first, or are they putting their career first, or are they putting thoughts of power or whatever, or even business affiliations first? I mean, to my mind, I don't know whether you use a small c or a big C, but there is corruption aplenty in those corridors, and it has to change. And we, because of that, we don't get a voice. We've lost our democracy, in my opinion, because most of those MPs in there will not vote according to what they promised their constituents.
No, for instance, I know this is something that maybe we all ought to understand more about the whip system.
Exactly, yeah.
Is that you could get a young MP going in for the first time, full of ideas, full of ideals, and then finds very quickly that he's having to sell out on a lot of things, or at least compromise on a lot of things because of the whip system. Can you explain what you hate about that so much?
Yes, very interesting. A lot of people, I mean, I'd say 90% of the students that I've lectured to have no idea what the whip system is. It was brought in the times of the Whigs and the Tories, when all that started, to make sure that a party delivered its manifesto. So the party got in according to what it promised the people, and the whips were there to make sure that the MPs always voted according to the party line. Now, it may have worked in the early days when it truly was a true party system, but now it's being used as a way of bullying people in Parliament and pushing through a policy which probably isn't approved of by most of the country and most of the people who are representing the country.
So go on, explain to people listening, if you're a young MP, I always say young, you don't have to be young, if you're an MP and you want to vote a certain way, maybe, you know, fox hunting. Good example. You want to vote against fox hunting because you simply don't like it, but you find the whip is bullying you. In what way do they do that? I mean, I know you've spoken to these guys. You've found out what they do. Exactly.
Well, specifically, we have seen that. It wasn't fox hunting. It was actually the badger cull, but it's the same kind of deal. Yes, we had a couple of great Conservative MPs on our side. But, of course, the official Conservative policy is that badger culling works. You know, you and I probably know it doesn't. But that's beside the point. What happened was one of these... She was a lady. One of these ladies actually helped us in the campaign and got various committees together, was really active in trying to save the badgers. When it came to our vote, after we got our debate in the House of Commons, we said, well, obviously we can count on your vote, can we? She said, if I vote for you, I won't see my children this weekend, and probably for any weekend in the near future, and my prospects of promotion in the party will completely disappear. She said, I don't care about my prospects in the party, but I care about my children.
Why wouldn't she get to see her children?
Because they get given certain privileges, as they're called, they're sort of little perks, if you do this for the party, then we'll make sure you get time off to go and see your family or whatever, and those would be taken away if they don't vote for the party line. So it's a bit of a carrot, if you vote for us, well, you might do well in the party. Oh, there's this post coming up next week, and you might be considered. That's the carrot. But the whip, according to the name whip, is the bad stuff. Yeah.
And that's just one of many examples of the way idealists don't work, they don't survive in politics today.
It's very hard. Yeah, most of the real decent people in Parliament have a very hard time, and they have to almost forget about their prospects as a career. They have to just, be brave enough to put their hand up for what they believe and what they believe their constituents believe. The very few of them can do it. Very few.
So are you realistic in any way at all to be advocating decency? Maybe it just doesn't work in our political system, the way you see it anyway.
Well, the idea is to change the system. I think, changing the government is one thing, and I think it's very, very necessary, because if Cameron gets in, I make no bones about it, it's a disaster for animals, and it's a disaster for poor people and whatever, and I cannot believe anyone's still considering that.
Well, he's standing there saying, look what I've done with the economy. We were the fastest growing economy other than America in the West. Haven't we done well? We've survived.
Yeah, you can be Cameron if you like.
I'm just putting it to
I know you have to, because this is radio, Yeah, well, I'm appalled at the amount of deception that's gone on, particularly in the press. I think I would like to see a review after the election of all the stories that have been in the major newspapers to investigate how far into lying they have got. Because I think we deserve better than that.
This is something that I always find so fascinating. In broadcast, in television and radio, we have to be, especially leading up to an election, but any time, we have to be balanced.
Yeah.
So your views have to be balanced with other people's views,
Exactly.
and we're very, very careful about that. In newspapers, you don't have to. You can say what the heck you like. You can be as biased as you want
Absolutely.
to be.
Well, bias is one thing, and you can cherry pick news or something. You can put your little twist on it, but actually fabricating a story is something else. And I don't think we should be standing for that. I think there should be an inquiry after the election. And, it's one thing, politicians have been known to lie, but newspapers, it's become an epidemic. And I don't think that's democracy. There's a huge amount of money, particularly on one side, which pays for all this stuff. And I think the electoral system, as well as the parliamentary system, is deeply flawed and actually deeply corrupt and must be reformed.
Well, I guess since you want to rock the system and get some change, we need a bit of music here on BBC.
Lighten up, folks, lighten up.
Shall we have a bit of Queen and we will rock you?
You could indeed.
Oh, there you are. That was nice, wasn't it?
That was quite nice, wasn't it?
It was quite nice, wasn't it? Queen guitarist Brian May is with me. Dr. Brian May, I did not know you had a PhD.
Yes, I did. I have a few honorary doctorates, but this is a proper one.
Yeah.
In astrophysics. Yeah, that's where
Imperial.
I started. At Imperial, the place where I started it 30 years before. Yeah, I went back to finish it off.
And you were studying space dust.
Exactly.
What is it about space dust?
Zodiacal dust. Well, it's at the centre of everything, really. We are dust. We are made of dust.
You're stardust.
Which comes out of supernovas. Otherwise, you don't get any heavy elements.
Hang on. At what point, then, did you decide, I don't want to be an astrophysicist anymore, I'm going to be a guitarist?
About 1970. When I'd written up my thesis and my supervisor didn't think it was good enough and said, go back and do some more and more and more. And eventually I thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm losing my mind. And Queen was rehearsing and we just
beginning to do well, presumably, at that point. And then
just getting a kind of sniff that people might be interested. And I thought, well, if I don't go for this now, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. So, I shelved the PhD.
Was that the right decision, Brian?
It was. For science, it was the right thing at the right time. Yeah, but I was very happy to come back to it because... and again, I was lucky because it became a little bit, no one was that interested in dust in the 30 years where I wasn't.
Maybe they would have been if you'd stuck at it.
Well, maybe. But
yes.
What happened was about a year before I went back to it, dust clouds were discovered around other suns. So you get exodust clouds, zodiacal clouds. And so suddenly that became something that people were interested in because it was obviously part of the natural evolution of a solar system anywhere. And so what better place to study a dust cloud than on our own doorstep, study our own. So suddenly it became something very useful again. So I was really lucky coming back into it at that point.
Well, it was lovely as well, having then achieved global fame, to be able to sort of slide your way back into popular science as well.
It's fabulous, yeah. And
I mean, that must be so cool, just sitting there on, the sky at night and just chatting away with Patrick Moore and Brian Cox and all the other big brains.
I miss Patrick. Patrick was like an uncle to me. And it was his idea for me to go back and finish the thesis. Bless him.
Really?
He said, Brian, you can do it. We know you can do it. And strangely enough, I had to ditch everything for a year. It was a serious amount of work, and a serious amount of, dedication and belief, because it's hard. And I discovered how hard it is to be a student again. You're being judged every day of your life, and you get quite despondent. So I actually stuck it out for a year and got the qualification. And so I like being called doctor now. Anyone who works that hard for a PhD.
Yeah, no, they deserve it, absolutely.
You don't want to be called Mr. anymore,
Dr.
believe
Brian.
me.
Yeah, no, you've done pretty good. Will you do any more, or will you, serious science?
I'm doing a little bit at the moment. It's a little bit arm's length, but we're continuing the zodiacal dust research a little bit. I'm not very active, but I get to do a lot of visiting observatories, which is the great perk, because all the great observatories are in the world's greatest beautiful sites, very close to the sky, close to heaven.
Where have you been?
Amazing.
Where?
Well, Tenerife is where I started, and La Palma is next door, so I spent quite a bit of time there. Haven't been to Paranal yet, but
where the sky is clear.
Yeah,
where were you for the solar eclipse?
I was in a plane. It was a last-minute decision, because I was hoping to go to Svalbard to see if there are any armoured bears up there. You know what I mean?
As you do, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
You know
what
I mean.
And all that.
But I didn't kind of get it together, and then I was going to go to another place, but I didn't, I was busy, and I was busy with the election stuff, actually, so I didn't give myself time. Then suddenly I thought, this is an opportunity, so I hired a little plane, and we positioned ourselves in the path of the totality and waited for the eclipse to catch up with us. That's the way you do it. So we got totality for 2 minutes more than anyone else.
Isn't that a bit scary, being in if you're watching it from on land, or at least on a ship, you've got solid earth or something beneath you when it goes dark. In a plane, it just goes totally, totally dark.
Not totally, no. You can see, it's like a deep twilight. You can see a couple of planets, and you can see the shadow rushing over the clouds beneath you. It's very dramatic. It's beautiful, really beautiful. No, it's not dangerous. No, it's just tricky. We had a great pilot, so he managed to just position us perfectly.
He got you back safely as well.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, when you talk about privilege? You said I'm very lucky, but you've earned yours. You're a grammar school lad, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, whatever, I know a lot of people listening at home might say, well, it's all right for him to campaign on green issues. He doesn't have the everyday problems of how to pay your mortgage. But you have earned your privileges. You've earned your luck.
Absolutely, yeah. My mum and dad thought they were sort of upper middle class, I think, and they voted Conservative because they thought that would sort of protect their position, I think, or they thought that was the thing to do. I don't know. That's the way I grew up. But my mum was putting shillings in different jam jars to save for the gas and the electricity. We were very poor. And that's the reason I made my guitar, because we couldn't afford a guitar. So
you made your first guitar?
Yeah, I made the guitar that I've used ever since, in fact.
Really?
Which is much more famous than I am.
Something else I didn't know.
Yeah.
Sorry. What did you make your first guitar out of?
Bits and pieces. Yeah, a piece of an old fireplace, and a lump of a table that was around the place. Motorbike valve springs, my mum's knitting needles. Yeah, made it, and I still use it. It's the red special.
Well, it's done you pretty well,
on every Queen record. Well, except one, probably.
So what do you say to people who say green issues are all very well for people who can afford them, but they're actually very difficult for the rest of us who have mortgages to pay and, school uniforms
as you say,
to buy?
I know exactly what that's about, yeah. And see, the word privilege to me means something a lot different, really. Yeah, maybe I have earned some privileges, but I've had the privilege of paying lots of tax, and I'm kind of rather proud of that, because tax is to make things happen. Tax is for hospitals and the social services that we need, and it kind of makes me laugh when politicians say, we are going to spend £1 billion on the national health. That's our money. That is just us spending money, and there is only a certain amount of money to be spent, and it's all ours, so we get to decide how it's partitioned up. But it does kind of make me laugh, this, we're very generous, we give into the national health. Actually, we've just destroyed the national health because we've sold lots of it off to our rich friends. That's the kind of stuff which is going on out there, which makes me livid.
Well, I know one of the things that, and you were mentioning it earlier, is if you're going to get the sort of decency that you talk about, maybe all of us using our vote has got to actually take a bit more time and trouble about the way we think about politics and actually finding out more about the people we could be voting for. Let's talk about how we can make that practically happen in just a couple of moments. 25 minutes past 12. Anne Diamond here with you on BBC Radio Berkshire. And my guest is Queen guitarist Dr. Brian May, who at the moment is campaigning for the Common Decency campaign. He believes that a lot could be done to bring common decency back into politics. That's your view, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's a very practical scheme. So if you can give me my pitch, I can
No, go on, pitch away.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what people are doing in the next 48 hours.
Absolutely. Well, so many people are saying, I don't know how to vote. Why would I even bother to vote because I'm in a safe seat or whatever? It doesn't make any difference how I vote. So common decency is about addressing that. And what we're doing is trying to determine person by person rather than party by party, person by person, MP by prospective MP, who is the decent guy, who will actually tell the truth to you in the next 5 years. We're asking right now for feedback from everyone. We have a page on our website, commondecency.org.uk. You can go in there and find your constituency, which we just did.
We just did for mine. We're not going to say what it is because at the moment in the election, we're not allowed to go into individual constituencies without real problems. But yeah, I just went to my constituency, and I live in the country basically, and I am staggered that, for instance, in my constituency, 26,000 people didn't vote.
That's right.
I can't believe that. I thought I lived in a community where people cared.
I know. Every time I show these pie charts, people are shocked. Yeah, and that's what we're saying.
And that's
really
almost as many votes as the non-votes, as it were, as the incumbent MP got votes.
Right, and in some cases it's more, and very often it's more, actually. So what we're saying is if we can agree on who would be the decent candidate and we can all form a swarm around him or her, then no seat is safe because all those non-voters from last time will be mobilised into becoming voters for change this time. It's a very powerful concept. We're doing well, but we need more people.
I think a lot of people would be shocked if they go onto your website and they look at their own constituency to find out how many people don't actually vote at all. Now, why do you think they're not voting?
I think some of them are apathetic, but I don't think that's the main thing. I think the reason is they look at the situation and think, well, my vote is just one vote. How can it possibly make a difference when this particular guy has got a majority of 10,000 or whatever? But the thing is, this is a different election. This is the first election where Twitter and Facebook have had an influence. If you vote for instance, the Common Decency recommendation, which we're going to put up there tomorrow, if you vote for that person and you tweet all your mates and you Facebook all your mates and get them to do the same thing and it spreads like wildfire, we can really make a change. It's the first time this could happen.
To be the sort of voter you would want me to be, I would have to go around all my 5 candidates and interview them and find out and figure out which one I think is the most decent person.
You would?
Now, I
Yes.
haven't got the time to do that. Most people haven't got the time to do that.
No,
and
exactly.
nobody's knocking on my door, Brian.
No, well, exactly. But what we're hoping is, and what is happening, is that we're getting feedback from people. So you can get some help with this. Hopefully by tomorrow there will be some information on that site which will tell you something about those candidates and tell you who we think, because of the recommendations we've had, who we think is the candidate we should cluster around and help. Now, in some cases, there will be a tactical element to this. There has to be, So I'm not Russell Brand, but there is a similarity in our agenda in a sense, because in some cases, getting someone out who votes for bringing back blood sports or decimating the badger population for no good reason, that it will be hard for them to get a common decency recommendation, and I make no bones about that. There are lots of reasons why people might not be decent, but maybe they've told lies in the past. Maybe they haven't represented their constituents. So we try to take all this feedback that we're getting from people into account. And I'm not saying we'll be perfect, but I think we'll give people a good chance to seize on a candidate in their constituency, vote for him, along with a cloud of other people, and maybe get all those fat cats out, all the people who are arrogantly sitting there thinking they're in a safe seat.
It sounds like a long-term plan, this. I mean, because
it's short-term for now, because I think
because you only got 48 hours before everybody goes to the polls.
But long-term, it's an iterative process. If we can get enough decent people into Parliament on May the 7th, then some of the major reforms can happen. And I'm with you on that. I think there should be a cap on election spending. It's iniquitous that one party should be able to spend £15 million and another one can spend 3 and 6pence. it's a disgrace. That's not democracy. I know it's worse in America, but it's bad here.
Yes, because we were just talking about the fact that Hillary Clinton's spending £2.5 billion on her campaign. I mean, isn't that extraordinary?
Belief. You could feed the starving millions of the planet on that, couldn't you?
What do you say? What did you say to Russell Brand? Because didn't he interview you a while ago? I thought it got
Well,
quite
we had an
feisty.
exchange at his premiere. Now, I think his film's great, and I think it tells a lot of truth that people need to hear. But what I asked him was what his plan was. I said, you're telling people not to vote, whereas I'm telling people they should vote because they can make a little bit of difference within the system and lead us towards the revolution that you're talking about. So he gave me a long answer, which was, he's great with words.
He certainly
But,
is.
I don't know how much influence I had, but he's now put himself behind Caroline Lucas, which we have, and he's put himself behind the Labour Party, which we're not quite doing, but we're supporting an awful lot of Labour candidates. We're also supporting a few Lib Dems who we know are very decent, a few Conservatives we know are decent. So we're slightly different in emphasis. My belief is that you should support decent people no matter what party they're in.
It'd just be nice to know who's decent and who isn't.
Yeah,
and even that's
we're hoping
subjective.
to help you with that.
I mean, that's
of course it
subjective,
is.
isn't it?
Of course it is.
Because you're just talking about one candidate. He might vote for fox hunting because he is a fox hunter himself. On the other hand, doesn't stop him being decent in other areas of his life.
Possibly. It's hard for me to believe that someone who votes for blood sports is decent, but there you go. Yeah.
I think I've met a few. I think I really have. When you're out and about campaigning and doing your bit as you are at the moment, is it difficult to get past the Brian May bit? The fact that everybody's just a little bit knocked out to meet you?
It's actually helpful because it gets me in the door, and it gets people to listen. I went to one particular university, which I won't name, but it was like a bear garden. It was in the college pub, and they're all there. They've had a few. You couldn't hear yourself think. I got up on the platform thinking, God, this is going to be tough. You could hear a pin drop. It was just great, and they were fantastic audience. They responded. They asked me great questions, and they totally got it. I mean, I always start with the pie chart and say, look, this is what happened last time. Can you believe how many people didn't vote, and can you believe how different this country could be if everybody did vote? And
do you think we should go the way of Australia and actually have mandatory voting?
I don't think it would do any harm. No, I think it'd be quite good. I mean, you give people a box to tick that says none of the above, don't you? I don't think that's particularly helpful, that part of it.
Well, I don't know. It actually shows, wouldn't it show politicians, I came to the polling station, I bothered, but I'm so not turned on by any of you that I'm going to do the none of the above.
Yeah, there's a place for that, yeah. I would like to see the electoral system reformed. I think the first past the post system is manifestly unfair, as is the electoral system, as regards money spent. It's ridiculous that one party can get, say, 15% of the votes and get 1% of the seats. I mean, that's not fair. It's obvious it's not fair. The reason it's not been changed is because we've been in a two-party system, which I believe is coming to an end. I think on May the 8th we might be looking at the first time when everybody actually admits that it's no longer a two-party system.
Where will you be on May the 8th?
Oh, God, I'll be pacing up and down. Actually, I'm going to be in a TV
tearing
studio.
that famous hair out of your head.
ITN have invited me in to comment from midnight onwards, so that's fun.
Oh, you'll be up all night.
I guess I will be.
Well, it won't be the first time, I'm sure.
I'll try and keep me cool. I'll try and... But, meantime, this is the last chance. Please visit us at commondecency.org UK if you're wondering whether it's worth bothering to vote.
Have a look at your own pie chart, because it is a pretty powerful
Yeah,
message,
look at the pie
it?
chart first, and let's see if we can have a very different pie chart on May the 7th.
Where are you off to now?
I'm going back to work on our pages on the website, because it's a big task. I have a lovely team, but I need to be there working on it.
Oh, well, we'll let you go. It's lovely to see you. Thank you
You
so
too,
much
Anne.
for coming
Great
in.
job. Thank you.
Yeah, you too.